We're recording now.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 15th Bike and Hike meeting again and wish you all like a happy holidays. And getting snow tomorrow is definitely going to bring in the Christmas cheer and season that we've been wanting to have. Anyway, are there any comments or corrections to the previous meeting? Where's Roger?
I'll make a motion to.
Anybody have anything? And if not, all in favor of, anyone would like to make a motion to
Mary
make a
Pat made a
motion.
motion, Lynn,
Yeah,
but we need a
I'll
second.
okay,
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy.
great. Okay, so let's start off with everybody on is Steve on? Steve, you want to talk about the trail, the feasibility study?
Sure. Yeah, the 202 trail feasibility study is coming along well. We had a little internal subcommittee meeting a few weeks back and received some really great comments from the group here. I would have loved to have it done and finished and polished and ready to show you guys all today, but unfortunately we got a little delayed with other projects and this project, just the level of effort involved. So I will get this to you as soon as I can, but things are coming along nicely. The room looks really nice. We're already receiving some, positive feedback from outside sources, and internally at Baker, they already want to use it for different things. So, so it's rolling along nicely. Yeah, it should be.
Well,
It should
Roger,
be really
Larry,
good.
Judy, and I were critiqued Steve's work. Not that he needed much help, but we definitely zeroed in on some stuff.
No, it was really great help, and it's all in the details with these public meetings, right? Because where I may be thinking, 1,000 foot off the ground, people will zone in on the dirt in front of their house. So we need to cover all bases. So it was really great help, really great comments.
Yeah, do you have a time frame as to when we'll be able to send the notices to the properties that are, going to participate? It'll be for the public, but obviously we have a group from the borough and the township that are specifically being invited to go to that site.
Yeah, Stephanie, we can get that together right now. There's nothing holding us back for that one.
Okay, let's zero in on a date with John Davis.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned with the holidays now.
Me too.
10 days out. Maybe it's better to kick it off. We send something out January 2nd or 3rd and pick a date as to when that would, go live on, January 5th or something.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Talk to John Davis and see if he agrees that time frame. I'm just worried with the holidays, people are not gonna take the time to, go to the site and everything. So
No reason to rush that on that.
yeah. So if we target, first time in week or so in January, that would be great.
Okay, I was thinking the same thing. That sounds
Okay,
good.
People will be looking for things to do in January. Anyway, we move on to the Old New Road update, and nothing, not moving much on that, but just keeping it on the agenda to keep it alive. Then the Neshaminy Greenway, Bristol Upper State Roads update. I think we're ready on that, but let's hear you brag about how nice it is. Is Chris on? Or Steve, you want to do the bragging?
Chris will do the bragging, I think, and then probably Cynthia too.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I think we're just about finished with the Neshaminy Greenway. It did come out good. Thanks again to everyone who helped with all the landscaping. I think it's hanging in there and it looks really good. We had a final inspection, I think it was last month, and no major issues. So there was just a little bit of cleanup work on one property that the township New Britain Township's working on, and I think we're 100% done.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
really good.
Wow.
So,
Wow, huh? Oh, nice.
yeah. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody and Lynn for all the help for getting the plants last week. I'm sorry I had to leave before the end of the meeting. It really was a great
Your hat is made up
planting
for it.
day.
I accept your apology. Your hat made up for it.
And the sweater.
Oh, there you go.
Very festive.
You got to do something to keep it festive at the moment. but yeah, it's coming along really well.
Have you received comments from residents?
No, not that I know of.
Well, that's a
So,
good thing then. No,
Yeah.
no negative comments is a really good thing. So you know
Yeah.
they approve.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, so it's looking really good. That's about all I can say. Doing cleanup.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, let me know if in the spring you still need anything, and we'll see if we can round up some more shrubs or whatever that we can find. But that's good. I'm happy to help.
Cindy,
right.
I understand from Eileen that you guys will be having an official ribbon cutting of the trail in the spring. Is that correct?
As far as I know, that was the plan, and I can
Okay.
see that Shell is who's going to be our Park and Rec secretary. Park and Rec, yeah, she's just trying to connect. She's also our, so we'll see if she has an official date yet. But yeah, we were trying to push it off until spring.
I think for now, spring is good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be buried soon under all that wonderful snow. And White
Yeah,
Christmas.
exactly.
It's actually
You
great
won't
for
be able to find
planning.
it.
It's
It'll be
great for the
gone by
planning.
Friday.
Tuck them in really well.
Yep. So, Shell, it's Cynthia. Do we actually have a date planned for the ribbon cutting in the spring for the Neshaminy?
We do not yet have something planned as of now, but I know that we are working and wrapping it up. So I will speak to Eileen about that today.
Cool.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we move on again. Good. Congratulations. That's huge. And, it shows that the work is done with love. It's not just throwing something up together. It's well thought out. So great job. Turk Road area trail feasibility study. We just keep that on there as a reminder that if anything comes along, that we're prepared to jump in on that and try to get us a trail or get something done on that in that area. Shady Retreat, Safe Routes to School Trail. Steve, do you have any updates on that? Probably.
I do. We received after a few months of limbo our structural approval. It's preliminary structural approval. We still have to submit for final bridge plans, but it was really positive feedback. They didn't have too many comments on our work, which was really good. One thing that they did request was across the bridge, they were, I don't even want to say concerned, but they pointed out the deck surface and whether or not pedestrians and bikes were going to get across it safely. So they wanted us to improve the surface quality of the bridge, which is, good for the final product of our trail. So they requested almost like a epoxy overlay with some aggregate. So it'll be nice and, grippy for whoever, pedestrians, strollers, bikes. So that's good news. We'll add that to the project. And then they're also requesting these anti-slip steel plates that go over the joints at the piers. So that will just minimize little expansion joint
Yeah, that's good. Those
spaces.
things are troublesome.
Yeah. So those are the two things that they kind of requested, and we'll add them to our bridge plan. We're working that back and forth internally just to see the design play out on that one. So that was the recent news there.
Okay.
I guess, Steve, we should probably let folks know about the other comments we did get that weren't quite as supportive. PennDOT's asking us to, since we're working in the sidewalk area on Shady Retreat, they're actually asking, and on the bridge, they're asking us to put a pedestrian detour in place, which is a little more troublesome for our design. So we're trying to work with PennDOT on what the best plan is for that. It may be simple as shifting folks on Shady Retreat over to the shoulder of the road with barrels along the opposite shoulder. So there's since we're working in the sidewalk area, technically pedestrians really won't have anywhere to go. So we're looking at trying to shift them to another part of the roadway. And then same thing on Limekiln Bridge. Again, the shoulder technically is area where pedestrians can walk today. But again, we're building the trail in that area. So we need to shift, we need to provide space on the bridge for somewhere else for pedestrians to walk across the bridge because there's really no other option to get across the bridge. So we're working through those details. It looks like it's going to be a little extra work for us than we didn't anticipate, but we're trying to get some, we have some concepts into PennDOT to try to get their buy-in before we finalize all the details. So not a huge wrinkle, but just something more that we have to deal with.
Do you know what the timeline is for how long that detour would have to be in place?
It's going to be a substantial amount of time. It's basically till the whole trail along Shady Retreat is complete for that whole stretch from Burpee all the way up to Old Colonial Green, basically that entire sidewalk area. I mean, that's going to be a construction zone, for lack of a better word, for several months probably, while they build that. So pedestrians will have to be likely on the other side of the road in the shoulder is what we're thinking, with barrels and warning tape maybe, but to protect them. And then the bridge work obviously is going to take a few months, because we basically have to cut out the deck again, like we did on Upper State Road in Bristol, put rebar in, put formwork in place, pour concrete there, let it set up, install railings, install fencing. There's a lot of work to do on the bridge. So that pedestrian detour will be in place for several months as well.
Because there's a fair number of people using that now.
Yeah.
Been using it. That was the whole reason for the trail.
Yeah, it's sort of a chicken or the egg thing, right? We're trying to
Yeah.
improve the trail, yet
Right.
we need to kind of try to deal with it during construction. So, and it is a requirement, especially for bridges, that it's a federal requirement that we can't just cut the bridge off because the pedestrians are trying to get across there. They have really nowhere else to go. So we need to figure out a way to make that work. So we're working on that detail now.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're going to end up with a much improved safety feature, which I think is key. We've been out to that area, Steve, Chris, myself, Dave, Tom Kelso, numerous times. And I'm always surprised at how many people are out there walking, riding. And so this safety improvement is so needed. And I'm so glad we have this grant to do that.
Great. Any thoughts as to, like, what's a guess as to shovel in the ground, when it would start?
If all goes well. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys are aware that PennDOT's having a lot of funding issues now. So they've actually put all their projects on hold for construction right now. They're not putting out any new projects on the street right now across the state. So we might have a month or two delay, but Lynn, maybe likely late summer, probably realistic.
Okay.
By the time we finish our design, again, PennDOT's moving very slowly, unfortunately, with all the COVID stuff. All their people are at home, I think, for the most part.
Right.
So things are getting delayed. But yeah, hopefully summer, fall timeframe.
Is there any chance that money would be like we wouldn't get it?
No.
Take back?
No, that's federal money.
Money.
It's federal money from the past. So it's, it's funding that's already been obligated in the past by the feds. It doesn't even have PennDOT money in it right now. The funding issues are all PennDOT, really. But they've kind of just put a freeze on everything because they are trying to get their financial house in order. So hopefully that will all get worked out here in the next month or so. But it'll just be a matter of when. It'll happen. It'll just be a time frame thing.
Good. All right. Well, it's great news. At least it gives us something on the horizon to know that we're going to be working with. Now, the next one I'd like to move on to is the Bucks County Trail update. Is Paul Gordon on?
Yes,
I'm
Paul's
here.
Hi, Paul.
How are you?
Great.
We've got the two projects, one being the Chamonix Alms House Road Trick Park Trail. That we are close to wrapping up. We are still going through the utility clearance process, struggling to get someone from Pico Electric and Comcast to get back to us. But again, moving ahead with that. And then for the Dark Hollow Park project, we are continuing to work with the residents along Pebble Hill Road. I know a couple of them attended the EAC meeting last week, and we're putting in place a response to continue to work with them to address their concerns. And thank you to Chris and Stephanie for helping the county navigate that process. So,
Paul, do you want to talk a little bit about the the group, even though it may cause you to shake?
Oh, no, it's okay. What happened is that, as most of you may be aware, the county completed its feasibility study for this project back in 2014. And as we've moved through the design process and we sent out some intent to enter letters to some of the adjacent residents for some of the engineering work needed to determine the bridge borings, it kind of reawakened the project for some of them, but also as some of the residents in that area moved there since 2014, they were not aware of the project at all. And so the county has learned a lesson that basically as we move from one stage to the other of a project, we need to reinitiate the public outreach efforts. And so anyway, we held a separate Zoom meeting with the residents probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, in which we had asked them for their questions in advance so that we could, begin to develop, responses to those questions and make sure we're, continuing to work with them. Their primary concerns right now seem to lie with environmental aspects of the project. And that's kind of what our going forward plan is to do, is to involve them a little bit more so that they understand the extensiveness of the environmental permitting process and the steps that Chris and his team will take as part of the design process, and the county's commitment to tree replanting and stormwater best management practices. So that's really kind of how we got to where we are.
And would you say paving versus not paving?
There was that discussion as well. There's been discussions as to why the trail is on the northern side of the Neshaminy Creek in that area versus the southern side. And again, if you're familiar with that area at all, the southern side is, if you were driving along Alms House Road past the shopping center and you look down to your left, you see how, it's really steeply banked there. So we got past those issues. Other key issues was we had initially proposed a trailhead parking location off of Pebble Hill Road on county property, but as the county doesn't really have access through that area, we would have been working with one of the private property owners along there for a access easement across their property. And that parking lot and the proposed, impervious pavement associated with both the access road and the parking lot were causing significant concerns. And so the county decided to not pursue the parking area on Trailhead on Pebble Hill Road. And that was also associated with safety concerns about, the increased volume of traffic along Pebble Hill Road with people trying to access the trail. So it will ultimately result in the project being much more costly to construct, but it was really the only decision we felt was reasonable. So,
Okay.
so that's
Can I
kind of,
jump in a little bit?
pardon?
Can I jump in a little bit?
Oh, certainly. Anyone feel free to ask me questions, jump in.
Stephanie, had brought to my attention the EAC meetings, and I watched that on video, their last meeting, and to see what their concerns are. They're a very well-educated, well-armed, passionate group. And I went out last week with them to walk this trail, to hear what their concerns were, because I wanted to be able to report back to this group and see what the issues were, why they were so
Good for
upset.
you. Great idea, Judy.
It was very upsetting because most of that trail is a real wide dirt road. It's used by ATVs, it's used by the farmer. It's clear. We walked, I don't think there's more than a half a dozen trees that need to come down during the whole stretch of it. It's wide, it's clear, and I have some photos. But what they're upset about was the paving portion of it. They don't want to see any paving. And they brought up pictures of our Neshaminy Greenway Trail that we've done so far as an example of what not to do. and they were very passionate about how awful it was. And I was like just taken aback because I was so proud of that. And they were telling us how awful that was to have paving so close to a stream. But it's not right on the stream bank. And they were also concerned about the bridges. If logs or trees come down and float down the creek, they're going to get caught under the bridges and cause a dam and all this other stuff. And I was like saying, but you know, we have maintenance, we deal with the trails, you know. So I was trying to keep my mouth shut and just listen to them. But they were very passionate about being very upset about the paving portion of it. And they also said that what they do not want to see is this become a bicycle corridor for people that are commuting, you know, to work. Which I was thinking, that's part of our point, getting people out of their cars and, you know, onto bicycles and that sort of thing. But they were very, very upset about that the whole concept of what we're doing. And they are actually mobilizing, trying to get a number of residents involved. They were talking going to court. I mean, it was really very upsetting. And I think we need to really look at this and also, you know, address how we're going to respond to it, because it's going to come to not just the Bucks County folks, but it's coming to, you know, our bike and hike group as well. They're going to be after us. And it was very upsetting that it was confrontational, although everybody was polite. They were very adamant about not paving trails.
I think it's not always good when they call themselves warriors.
Yeah. And
yeah, when I was listening in, it's warriors in itself seems like a little more aggressive, doesn't it?
well, it was very aggressive, I felt. You know, very politely aggressive, but they were going to try to fight this any which way they could. And one of the people that was very passionate about it is somebody that just recently moved in 2 years ago and feels that she was blindsided by this. And they feel that we are not protecting the riparian buffer, that are in the county's feasibility study was didn't take the environment into account. And I was like, you know, cringing. I just think we need to be as prepared as they are, because they had a lot of statistics and facts and figures to back up what they were saying. And I think we need to also, you know, have that ammunition as well, because they are coming after us. That's, you know, and I never thought of myself as somebody that was not environmentally concerned, but I was the bad guy, you know, at that thing. And they were pretty, they're trying to force an independent environmental study of the whole Neshaminy Creek corridor.
There is a video out there that you can watch yourself to understand their ideas. If anyone cares to watch the video, maybe just contact Judy. Judy's got it on. You have the link.
Can I share the screen a little bit? Just because I have a photo of what we were talking about.
Yeah, it's shareable, Judy.
It's shareable. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So how do I do this?
Something's going on.
I'm trying to figure out how do I get to my desktop here.
I had to move my position to the floor while Judy's fussing around there. See that streak of sunlight that's squeezing through? It hit me right in the eyes.
I'm not sure how to get to this.
While Judy's navigating, I have a question. When they did the feasibility study back in 2014, there was an environmental examination of environmental impact, right?
To the extent that you get into that with the feasibility study, yes, Larry. We, you know, we talked about that. You know, there were some stream tributaries that might require, you know, boardwalks. We, you know, in a feasibility study, you're also just kind of showing a conceptual alignment, but, we always, at that point we were trying to, in the conceptual alignment, move the trail, as far away from the creek as possible, trying to, avoid, wetlands as, identified at that point in time, but only once you get to this engineering stage with, an engineered alignment that, Chris and his team have worked on, do you begin to really uncover, some of the real environmental issues that are going to have to be confronted. So.
I can't
Larry,
figure out how to do this. I'm sorry. I could email some photos out after the meeting, but the gist of it was that now have I upset everything? Because now I'm not. Stop share. Okay. I can email some photographs out, but they were. It's a wide road and it's been used, by ATVs, horses. It's very clear for 99% of the way. There is some erosion off of the farmer's field and that washes across, and that would have to be dealt with. There were a few areas that, there's wash, but that's part of the design of the trail. And I don't think there was anything there that was that difficult to overcome or that we haven't dealt with in the past. And the wooden bridges that we did, that we've done before, could be done in a couple of places here. So, but it was very upsetting, and I'm not sure exactly how to go from here, but I think we have to sort of get some ammunition on our side, ready to go, because they are going to come after us. And it's not only for the county section of it, but they were also very upset about the stretch at the reservoir off of Covered Bridge Park and the Reservoir Trail up there. They mentioned how horrible that was. And I walked that yesterday, and there's a lot of people using it. And I think that's what upsets them, that there's a lot of people out there using it and enjoying it. And my thought was, this is open space that should be accessible, but they feel very much that bringing people into that open space is a problem.
Do you get a sense at all that perhaps what this is about in part is them protecting what's got to be a fairly rare instance of a bridle path or ATV recreational area for themselves? Because you said,
well, none of these people were ATV users or horseback riders. The people on the EAC group, they were not.
okay.
But I did ask them if they had actually walked many of our trails, and they have not. They have been relying on the photographs that we've posted on the website and that we've used in promoting these trails and talking about how wonderful they are. They were actually using our own photographs to point out what they thought was awful. They referred to it as a highway for bicycles, and
they were critical of the new portion in New Britain Township too.
Yes.
No offense, Cynthia.
Yeah, they were.
So I have a thought, and that is, Sandy, and that's my neighborhood, and I'm sorry for all this. It's a beautiful oasis along the Neshaminy there. I think that what we need to arm ourselves with is the runoff characteristics of ATV and horse trails, making unimproved surfaces versus the degradation that could be perceived via asphalt being put down and solidifying a surface. And I do know that one of the individuals, I don't know if they were at the DAC, but one of the most verbal individuals is someone who has horses happening towards me. So yeah, that's a real thing out there as well. Chris, do you have anything on unimproved surface, misuse, degradation, and yeah, to you?
I'm making a note right now to do some digging on that, so we have some information on that. Just before, I don't know if Paul is going to touch on this, but what we've decided to do is obviously the county's decided to take a very proactive approach on this. And we've talking about actually welcoming these folks into our design committee, so they know that they have a voice. The county is taking the position that the trail will be built, but we are trying to work with the adjacent residents as best we can to address their concerns, and to incorporate environmental features that they recommend to help mitigate any of the concerns that they have. So we're talking about potentially reforesting some of the farmland, talking about all kinds of rain gardens and best management practices for water quality and filtration, tree planting, bioswales, things like that, that we're going to try to talk to them about. So I guess I would just say rest assured that we're going to take a sort of a very proactive approach with this. County's actually asked us to kind of get almost a video or a PowerPoint of best practices that we put on place on our trail systems, so we can try to show them how we can deal with the water runoff issues. But really what we're going to ask, I think if I'm not speaking out of turn, I think the county is going to ask for the neighborhood to nominate a representative to our team. So they'll be involved every step of the way, and that representative will be speaking for the neighbors and really just try to bring them into the process. We don't want it to be an us or them situation.
Right.
I think we have to say, look, yeah, this is happening. It's not if, it's not, it's going to happen. It's like, how is it going to happen? So now you have an opportunity to be part of the process to help, mitigate any of your concerns. So we're going to be moving very quickly to make that happen.
Right,
Well,
and I
think
believe
it'll be wonderful.
I had an email and I asked them to send a formal letter to the township. But the county may request a representative from the bike hike and our EAC to participate in an advisory committee, I guess advisory design committee, with a couple of the residents from that area as well. So I asked, the executive director reached out and he said, what's the best way to go? And I said, just send a formal letter to the township chairman of the board of supervisors. And then we would, once we receive that, if we receive that, we will share that, and each committee will, appoint a person to participate in that process. And I think it brings it full circle. I know that at the EAC meeting, many of the residents from that area participated at our EAC meeting last week, and they, expressed their concerns. Certainly, the EAC, appreciated them participating, and they said that they were okay with a trail as long as the thing was completely a boardwalk. So they're not opposed to a trail out there. Now, whether or not that happens, I think that's part of the design, engineering design process that Chris is working on for the county right now. And at the end of the day, I had to remind everyone that this is a county project and it is county ground. And the ultimate decision will be left to the county when they have the appropriate funding to do such a project, but they would at least get through the process of the grant they currently have and have that design engineering, documents completed.
I think it showed movement on the county's part that they gave up the parking area that they were going to have there, and that they also have given up on using the farmers access road. So they're listening to concerns and trying to, strike a balance between what they need to do and the residents' concerns. So Paul, credit on that one, that you heard that outcry and you immediately reacted.
Thank you. Yes, and we've also created a website on the county data portal that provides them with all the Q's and A's, has photos of some of the other existing trail segments along the Neshaminy Greenway that have been established all the way from Chalfont down to the New Bristol Road one, to the one connecting Upper State Road to the 202 Parkway, to show them examples of other, projects that have been done along the creek. And so to your point, Judy, that may be some of their concerns as they're seeing,
Right.
all these trails go in. And we are definitely learning, and we're trying to do what we can, but, we again appreciate the support of this committee and Chris's expertise and Stephanie's expertise. And again, we rest assured we're trying to be proactive and work with the residents to the extent that we can, knowing that there is a significant degree of opposition to the project, primarily it seems on the environmental aspects. So
Well, I do think that I was there on a very wet day. It was extremely muddy, and looking at the conditions there now, I think the trail would only improve the runoff and the washout that they have, and the erosion caused by the ATVs. There's a lot of tree roots that are exposed, a lot of erosion that has happened, and our trails are built up rather than gullies the way that's set up now. So I think it wouldn't be hard to show them kind of a before and after design aspect of how it actually improves the situation.
I'm curious about something. I thought use of ATVs on county property was illegal.
it is, it's an enforcement issue.
So they want to keep hikers and bikers off of a new trail so that they can conduct illegal riding activities on that same area.
I don't think, if you look at the video, I don't think these are the ATV people. These are the environmental.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the
Yeah, it's
environmental
different.
folks that
Oh,
are,
okay, all right, I'm
that are
sorry.
upset by the use of ATVs now.
Good point, but these are not the guys. They'll probably come later, but they're not here with this.
Yeah, well then,
There
it-
are two people who ride ATVs and motorcycles there, and that's all. Two different family groups.
it seems like taking a trail away to avoid traffic is inevitable with the population growth in this area. I mean, people are going to walk there anyway, and if it's a dirt trail, the erosion and everything else is going to be worse. It's the same old thing. Bucks County is growing. This area is growing. You can't ignore that. You have to compensate for it and provide trails that won't affect the environment.
Well, the point that they made about a bicycle commuter highway was most upsetting to me, because I was thinking, yeah, these people are riding their bikes to work, that might be working, because they said there's a lot of people that would use that to get to work down at the Barnes Cinema area, that shopping center. And they were upset about that. And I was thinking, gosh, they're not driving a car. This is a really good thing.
I guess they want us driving cars instead.
It's selective environmental focus, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to. And what they're doing is they're capturing, it seems to me, they're capturing the issue that is most supportive to their goals only, rather than the whole picture. And it's the typical NIMBY, really. Just let's put it on the table. But unfortunately, well organized.
And there's a tad bit of irony. I'm hearing about environmental concerns, but I'm also hearing about the field washing down into the creek. If that's if they're environmentally concerned, why is that not controlled?
It's not, yeah.
One couple points on.
You don't know what's on those fields.
Just a couple points on the trail surface, and I hope the county sticks to their guns on it, because the experience with non-paved surfaces everybody's used to are the flat rail trails, where you have perfect drainage and it works great.
Or the towpath.
Yeah, where it doesn't work is where you have to change slope or change the grade of the trail often. And it's prone to washout. That's been our experience with it. And difficult to maintain. We have one in Wallace Township where every time it rains, the crew's out there fixing it.
Well, they also end up getting wider and wider because people are skirting the puddles.
Well, and the second point I want to make is if the county wants the township to participate in long-term maintenance of this trail, it's got to be paved, I think. And that's been the experience of our road crew. Even the one out at Pine Run, we put that in originally as a stone surface, and
Yeah.
before the end of the year, it got paved.
Mhm.
So I think those are important points on that hopefully the county won't give in on, because it just isn't sustainable in an area like that without serious design issues and maintenance issues.
Yeah,
There's another thing that I wonder about, which is on the towpath, when they had the flooding, it got washed out. I don't know how often the Chamonix floods, but if it's not a paved path,
Yeah.
that would be.
Our experience with the paved paths is we have them in that are almost 30 years old now, where we've never really had to do any serious structural maintenance to them. And
when
that's
it
a pretty good
floods-
record.
When it floods, it doesn't wash out.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it can if it's not done well, but I think we've learned that lesson. And, you know, the flooding that we've had along the Chamonix has become more frequent, but the trails get a little muddy and they survive. So I think that's a key point that the county has to consider in terms of the township's involvement in this.
Well, one of the key people that I talked to was Jim Walter. He's a chemical engineer and a master watershed steward working with the County Conservation District. He was one that was very concerned about the stream bank erosion, but the distance between the trail and the stream bank doesn't seem to impact that too much. But I'm not an expert on that, but that might be somebody you want to reach out to.
That's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, we
That's
haven't
something
seen
that we will be exploring is, you know, there are significant areas of erosion. We've asked Chris to take a look at that as part of the future project development.
Yeah.
And we are aware, and Mr. Walters will probably be invited to our committee as well.
Good.
Given his expertise.
I don't believe that Mr. Walters lives in the neighborhood.
No, he does not.
Right.
He lives in Warwick Township, and that we've also, knowing that, you know, our goal is to eventually continue this trail further south. We are also asking representatives from the Buckingham Township EAC and the Warrington Township Tree Committee, excuse me, the Warwick Township Tree Committee to also provide representation to this
Great.
Citizen Design Input Committee.
Good plan, Paul.
Well, that's a lot, thanks to Chris. And again, this part of that learning extends back to the experience that we had with the Turk Road, Pebble Hill Road Connector Trail, where, you know, your committee kind of followed that same outreach procedure, getting the neighborhood involved in the design. We felt that was a very effective model for helping, you know, address resident concerns. So.
Okay, anyone else, any comments? Paul, so I guess you're hearing from our message that we're here backing you up, and anything we can do to help, that we are totally supportive of what you're trying to do.
Thank you. And again, yeah, we're doing our best. I dropped a link into the chat boxes to the county website that we
Yeah, I
created.
saw that. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
Judy, you
great.
may want to, Judy,
You did. I'll send it. I copied it and pasted it into an email. I'll forward it and have Margaret send an email to everybody after the meeting.
Okay.
It'll be a
Stephanie,
little easier.
Stephanie, on the same email, can you send the link to the meeting that Judy was talking
Yeah.
about and that we were able to listen to see their concerns?
Yeah, it was our township EAC meeting.
Yeah, you mind putting that up there? It's just good for
Sure.
everybody to hear.
Sure, it'll be easier. No problem.
And I can send you some photos of the trail that we walked together. So that can be included as well.
Good.
I just opened it up and it looks good. Good job, Paul, on the website.
Thank you.
It's got photos in it, the maps and details, so. That'll be helpful for all of us.
Yeah, I'm glad we could coordinate with the residents. I'd had one phone call a couple weeks ago and immediately contacted Paul to make sure that he and Evan could set a Zoom meeting with the residents. And I know Andy was part of that, and Lynn was part of that as chairman, and Nancy as well, and Tom. And so I really appreciate everybody, you know, kind of dropping what they were doing and jumping on that call, that Zoom call. There were a number of residents, but I agree, the county, you know, had a good PowerPoint presentation, answered questions ahead of time. You know, so I just appreciate everybody's cooperation, making sure the residents, you know, have information, understand where this all kind of, you know, began and everything.
I have a quick question, and this is to the township. I believe I understand the answer. The impervious surfaces are asphalt in the township code. They're also gravel in the township code, and there'd also be decking or wood bridges, correct?
Yes, anything that's going to cover the
Right.
natural ground. Mm-hmm.
Just so that we can speak to that when they bring up the want to have a wooden deck for a mile or so.
Yeah, it would still be, I mean, Tom and Judy also serve on the planning commission, and Nancy's liaison, and, you know, yeah, I mean, anything that covers the natural ground is impervious surface, and stone, and, you know, I mean, there's ways to make things porous paving, you know, stone and dirt and things like that sometimes can be considered porous if it's done correctly, but at the end of the day, you know, that has to be reviewed by engineers and things like that. But anytime you're going to cover, you know, the ground, a house, a roof, you know, shed or something, or a driveway or gravel, whatever, it compacts and it becomes impervious.
And this, I mean, this could be just an attempt to make this cost prohibitive too. I mean, extending a boardwalk that distance, and then the long-term costs on that are significant too. So.
Well, from a design standpoint, I wouldn't think it's necessary, only in very short sections, and no more than kind of the bridge that we have over the Neshaminy Creek, that where the field, you know, has the waterway that goes down to the creek, and the wooden bridge that we have there. It's just, you know, we built in a weekend with volunteers. It's not a big deal, and that, you know, for short segments might be appropriate, but overall, I think it needs to be paved.
Yeah.
Paul, can you
totally
remind
agree.
everybody how long this section is? I'm sorry, Paul, can you do that? Just remind everybody how long from beginning to end this portion in Doylestown Township is.
I believe it's 2.3 miles.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's for the entire length over to Valley Road. So,
Okay.
We walked it at 2.5 miles.
yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted
All
to
right,
clarify.
sounds like when life becomes normal again, that's one of our first trails we'll walk when we get back to our team trips.
Yeah, and thank you, Judy, for going out and meeting with the residents. I was not aware you had done that, so I appreciate your outreach to them.
Well, I wanted to hear what they had to say, both for this committee and for the planning commission, because I don't want to see us divided.
Yeah.
You know, and have an adversarial, you know, relationship. So, you know, I just wanted to go hear them out for both of those groups.
Great idea.
So thank you.
All right. So unless there's any other concerns, I'll move on. And Paul, like I said, you know, we're here for you. If there's anything we can do, we're certainly ready to rally and respond to whatever you ask. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. All right. Any other business?
Well, we have Pump Track on here, and I was just thinking, if those folks could see the Pump Track, they would be mortified, because they don't want people in the woods, you know, except for a small foot trail. And
And that pump track is so well used. Congrats on that again. I know.
I
Liz-
know, it's so wonderful and it's so well
Yeah.
appreciated, but.
It
I
is
think-
closed for the winter. It is closed for the winter. So I
It
know.
is closed for the winter.
Yeah.
People don't want people in the woods if they're their woods that they see as theirs, I think is really the bottom line. And it's no fun to play on an asphalt track if you're riding an ATV, whereas it's lots of fun to play in the mud, apparently. So that's my thought on that. And sorry, Judy, you had to take their ire for the team.
It was hard to keep my mouth shut, I'll tell you.
I'm sure. I would say, oh yeah, so the pump track is closed. We put it to bed for the winter, and the trails around it in the woods are open and they get a ton of use. So those will be
Liz, you want to tell about the great witches ride, the Santa Claus ride again?
Yes, I actually wasn't there.
I know, I looked for you.
I tested positive 2 days before, so I've been home sick. So, but apparently it went really well. There were a lot of people out just riding in very small groups around town to see the lights. So,
And it was a warm.
we had our
gorgeous
COVID
night.
version of it.
Yeah, it was a great night for it.
Yeah. it
You
was.
probably missed the warmest night you've ever had on that ride.
Yes, it was a perfect night to miss.
Well, I hope you're feeling better.
Thanks. It's coming along.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear.
The only other thing I wanted to ask was, I would assume with all the trail use that people are going to be wondering what the conditions of our trails are. Like, are they plowed when there's snow? You know, is it safe to go use them? I know that question gets asked a lot about Lake Galena, and with everyone using the trail so much more this year, I would think we need a way to let people know what the condition of the trails are, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure what New Britain's doing, but traditionally the township will, especially like in Central Park and everything, and the trails that are heavily used throughout our community, after we plow the roads come first, obviously, and during the day, regular working hours, we have a little machine that goes out and will remove the snow from the trails, especially those that are very, very popular, because they are used. Some people do walk to get to work. You know, they walk to the hospital, they walk to Lenape Valley, they walk to the schools. And also the trails are used to walk to school. So, you know, we make sure that those trails are cleared after all the roads are taken care of.
This is Marilyn from Chalfont Borough. We follow the same procedure.
Okay.
I would say we do too, because I know we have one of those nice little machines to go plow snow. But I do have a question for Stephanie. We tried to walk a trail last week. I call it the one that starts behind the dermatologist that links around to the Central Park. It starts at Lower State and 202. It was
we
actually
had that closed off. There was some issues with some drainage and mud on the thing, and so we closed it for safety purposes.
Has that changed? Because my friend and I walk that once a week, and we've noticed that water has been getting more and more on it.
Yeah, we've been working with the developer to fix that. There's a blockage at the pipe that as you come down from the office complex. Yeah, and so what's happened is that the pipe under there's a big culvert pipe there, and it keeps getting blocked up. And our road crew guy climbed through there. We were all out there, and you know, it's blocked. And so they've had to kind of unblock it. And once they got it unblocked, it is flowing. And we're talking to them, their team, to figure out how do we fix it permanently. And what do we need to do?
Open or closed?
It's in the
now?
floodplain. I mean, you know, it is definitely an area of the floodplain there. And, you know, we've talked about, you know, maybe they need to possibly put like a little boardwalk in that section, or kind of raise it up a little bit.
They need to
but
fix
we-
that culvert because it's just
Yeah.
eroding everything through there.
It is. It just bypasses
It's
what
just-
happens when it gets blocked.
Yeah.
It bypasses it and goes out into the island field there, Tom, and then it
There's only one
cuts
solution to
across.
that. And we know what it is, and they got to do it. And they caused that problem when they added on to that pipe. That
Yeah,
was an
they
existing pipe
angled it
that
at a
worked
different,
fine
there's
for
a second
years.
pipe that goes into the big
Yeah,
pipe.
They
Yeah,
need to fix it.
yeah,
I
and
don't think there's
we've been
any-
out there several times and
Yeah,
we're working with them to address that.
and it will ruin the trail sooner or later. I mean, it's coming, the erosion's heading towards the trail. And
So is it closed now permanently for a while?
I don't know if they reopened it or not. I'd have to.
I
check.
rode it on Saturday or
Okay.
Sunday, and it was open, and they had just scraped the mud off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's probably.
but that could all
open.
change.
Tomorrow.
That could be different today because it rained all day yesterday.
And froze.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's good to hear somebody's using the trails out there on the
A
committee.
lot of people are.
Yeah. So I think that we, unless there's any other considerations here, I'd like to, this is our Christmas meeting, which is a shame, but thank you, Cynthia, for at least wearing your hat. I did wear a red necklace. It was the best I could energize myself this morning. But I always like to give somebody a bottle of wine who was the award ceremony for the year. And I don't think Roger Clark is on this meeting today. Is he?
No, he's not.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know, which is unusual. So I,
I'll pick it up and give it to him.
I'm going to ride my bike over to where he is. Though to thank Roger, as everyone does on this committee, but Roger particularly stood up big this year with his concerns and his follow through. And he's a great add-on. So I'm sorry he's not here to hear the words, but we all know his participation is great.
Can I just, before we close, I just wanted to give you an update on the mapping.
Oh, I forgot
what?
about it. How dare I? Okay, sorry. Oh my goodness. Shoot me.
Speaking of Roger Clark, because he was, Roger and Larry, and, we've been dealing with, getting a proposal for mapping and updating our map. And I don't have it yet, but I should get it this afternoon, a proposal from Steve Spindler, who has done a lot of bike and hike mapping. And he, we kind of spelled out what we expect from him, and we have budgeted $3,000 to spend on updating our map on our website and working with Steve to do that. And it involves some very inexpensive software purchase and some training, as well as he would get it up and running for us and set it all up. And then it's the kind of map that we can add landmarks to, photographs to. It's something you can zoom into. You could click on Central Park and get information about Central Park and what goes on there. You can get information about the museums, other things, as well as showing our bike and hike paths that are existing and what's coming. And we're talking about doing this with not only the township, but the perimeter areas around it and linking to the whole area. It will basically be the area that's on our map now. In gray, we have like New Britain and Chalfont and Buckingham. And what we want to do is add a little bit more information to those areas. So we'll be reaching out to the other communities, our neighboring communities, to help us with that and give us some information, and hopefully, at some point, some finances to help, embellish this. But we are getting started, and we should have that proposal later on today. So we'll see where we are. But that's our, getting started for this next year in getting our map updated.
Yeah, I do want to say thank you to Larry and Roger too for jumping in on that, because I think we gathered a bit, we had our own little private Zoom meeting, and we're able to really, it wasn't as easy as you think to try to figure out, what $3,000 can get you.
Yeah.
So it took us some time, and I want to thank, particularly Larry and Judy and Roger for jumping in and helping to refine this so that we didn't use up everyone's time trying to help us out.
And Steve threw together, I think that's the term he used, threw together like an example, kind of it could look like this sort of thing, and looked very promising. So I don't want to get people too excited, but it looks like a great leap forward in terms of mapping that would be available to folks who are wanting to use the trail system.
Can I just say, probably your Park and Rec committee would love to hear about it, and maybe they would want to get in on it, even maybe, I don't know, Stephanie, from a finance, because I know they're looking for ways to promote the park. So maybe there's a way, because if you can add them obviously onto your mapping.
Well, I mean, it will be that the parks will be on there and clickable and we're going to ask them for information so that you can click on it, you can see other photographs, you can get information about what's at each of those locations, what kind of hours, those sort
Karen
of things.
Judy, Karen did some of that on a map she made for the park system. So I think, we may be able to work with Karen and take some of that information and, copy paste onto that map.
Yeah, so I think this has been an amazing start on that map. So I think, we're going to be able to do a lot of the things ourselves. We're going to take advantage of all that Karen has done. We've included other communities so that, we are not the center of the universe, shocking as that may sound, but we wanted Chalfont, New Britain, and Buckingham. We wanted to extend this so that you're actually going to be able to go somewhere on our trails and head in a different direction. So unless anyone else has anything else to say, any questions about the map? I, again, like I do every year, want to thank you all for being participants on this, I think, extraordinary committee. We get a lot done. It's a valued time. 8 o'clock in the morning is not exactly when everyone is up and feeling like jumping into a meeting, and you always show up, and I'm very thankful for that. So let's keep going. A lot to do, a lot of battles to conquer or win, and it's definitely going to be tougher with COVID lurking, but I think we're well on our way, and we should all be thankful for that vaccine, because I think in a couple of months we'll be back to meeting at the Township Building. So thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday and stay safe out there. Stay vigilant.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe.
Happy holidays. Good
Bye-bye.
luck tomorrow. Let's
Stay
enjoy
safe.
that